Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well, and Shalom to all the brothers doing the work of Syrian truth. Goes Arc 1-0 Edge from the Epoch Times, where it says what US trending towards China's social credit system enabled by big tech, former Facebook analyst. And it's funny as well because a lot of what the elites are working towards. You can see it in China, in how they've more or less implemented the um social credit system. Because really, it's more that everything from like your ID card to your bank account to your like passport and what do they call it, like rail, like being able to use public transport as well. All these things all linked into one system, and it's like you'll have it on your phone. You'll more or less have these these things all on your phone, to where I think it's like one app. Well, actually no, I think for the money there's two. They said there's like Weibo, I think it's Weibo Pay, and what's the other one, Alipay as well, from Alibaba. And like between those two, that's where majority of payments go through. And then as well, it's like using a lot of people that use like using their phone, they'll use um do all these other things as well through like the government mandate apps. And then that's become, the uptake has become very normal for the people over there. I remember they started with the digital one as well, and then they said they did a trial on it, and then the digital one, they were saying like what China could do basically is like have it where you get paid it a certain amount each month, or even then they'll make it where it expires, to where it's like, okay, you can only spend it within this time span, like within a week or something. Then even then it was like what stores you can spend it and these other things. And these are all the things that they're kind of working towards. And there's like people will use it and they'll be like, oh yeah, so convenient, you just tap your phone and blah blah blah. And then under the guise of that convenience, they're basically just making it so it's what do you call it? It's incredibly it's real simple, real easy to use, and then people get used to it, especially for like younger people, because like older people, even with like in the UK, we went from like 90s where it was um like you still sign, you'd maybe swipe or insert your card and then sign signature, to like early 2000s where it was like chip and pin, where you put your card in and then enter a pin. And then after that was like they started bringing in contactless from like late 2000s, early 2010s. So I remember they had like the Barclay Pay adverts were like the first ones where they were trying to make it like get people used to it, and like no that took a while for people to get on it, but then they got on it. And as well on the phones, on Apple Watches, on all those things as well, it became a lot simpler. And that's all that technology basically being used and centralized. That's all leading towards that charagma. But I read a bit. It says big tech companies are doing the bidding of the U.S. Government in actions that mirror China's social credit system, and Americans must recognize what's happening and take action, according to Cara Frederick, a former Facebook Intel analyst and a research fellow at the Conservative Heritage Foundation. Frederick recently authored a Heritage Foundation report, Combating Big Tech's Totalitarianism, a Roadmap, which details how big tech has wielded its power to censor Americans. The report proposes a range of actions Americans can take to counter the situation, It's the integration of the government and big tech companies to police speech that I think is troubling and very evocative of coming totalitarianism. Frederick said on Epoch TV's American Thought Leaders program. She calls it a symbiosis between government and tech companies, and that's really what it is. They're basically blending it together to where that technology is going to be utilized to fulfill the aims of the elites, man. And that's why you see it's basically gone from like when, especially with like how the internet's used, how people kind of view different things. Before you go back to like late 90s, it's like everyone would have their own TV show. So I mentioned the 90s, everyone have their own website. People might have like a homepage that will kind of link to a bunch of different sites for different uses. If they wanted to check the weather, they might go to weather.com. If they wanted to check the news, then they would have a bunch of news sites that they go through, and then it's like a variety of different things. You go to different sources, and then you might, even if you Google something, it's not like you're gonna just Google and go to like one source, because like before, the way Google worked before, it used to the way the internet was before as well, you wouldn't even have one big centralized source. You had like Wikipedia, but even Wikipedia back in the day, there wasn't as much on there. It wouldn't even be 100% accurate. And they used to have like encyclopedia websites and whatnot, like paid ones as well, which you basically use to get information just like you get on Wikipedia. So everything was a lot more decentralized. Everything was not as easy to to find. But then it was all splintered off. It wasn't all centralized. And it's really with social media, and less so. Like probably the closest was like MySpace. But even then, MySpace was big, but it wasn't really about um using like algorithms like you have in Instagram, like you have in Facebook, like you have in YouTube, like you have in TikTok. These newer social media, they kind of have algorithms which work out a profile of the people, how they think, the kind of content they're interested in, what times they use it, what kind of age they are, what kind of age, sex, these things, to kind of make a profile, and then kind of be like, okay, how are these people gonna think? And then since using those things, then rather than reading how someone's think, it can start to dictate kind of your opinions, what kind. And because people, I still find it hilarious, but it's like they say the vast majority of people go to social media for their news. So they'll be on Facebook and they'll only read news of what maybe other people post on Facebook or appears on Facebook in their news section. I ain't used Facebook in time. Apparently that's what they have. And then same for like Instagram, they might only see news articles that someone might just post in their story or post a snippet of or whatever, and then that's how they get informed. So they're basically staying within small bubbles that are off by themselves, and then it makes it very easy to kind of get them within, to keep them hooked within that one system. And then all these systems, these main social media platforms and whatnot, they're all working towards that charagma. That's why you have things like metaverse, and this is why you have augmented reality stuff like Pokemon Go. It's why you have basically a lot, you like all these different companies kind of linking up to where it's like there's a lot of websites where you'll go to and they'll say, oh, you can log in on, like, you can make an account on that website, or you can log in on your Google account, or log in on your Facebook account, or log in on your I feel like there's another one, Google, Facebook, and or like Twitter, and then you'll log into your Twitter account and that'll give you access to that website, because then Twitter will be able to get how you're using those different websites, and then be like, okay, so now that you're using this, how what like they can get more, fill out your profile more, through the algorithms. And these things are all for like what? How they're gonna be utilizing the mark, utilizing the charagma. It's basically gonna be them trying to be like gods on the earth. They're trying to utilize it so they can have total control. So they can be like, okay, how are these people gonna think? What they're gonna respond? How are we gonna have it where we're gonna be able to keep them in a perfect slave-like state? Because hey, that's what Esau's desires are. So it says she cited a few articles, including early in February when White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki at a press conference urged Spotify and other major tech platforms to take further action to stamp out what the Biden administration deemed as C-19 misinformation. The funny thing is a lot of things have just come from this particular situation, with the C-19, to where it's basically been able to make them say like, okay, now we can have the justification, like, okay, this that what this misinformation that is what they label it, and it's like Hello Brothers videos have got taken down off that. But then it's what they've basically been given the sledgehammer to then smash anything if certain things are mentioned, which is why brother that's speaking code on YouTube, because otherwise the whole site's just gonna get snipped. Yeah, they're able to utilize these things to what? Utilize all these different social media platforms, different like kind of centralized but hubs people go to on the internet, to then make it, pave the way towards the charagma and getting people to eat. And it's like if what do you call it? Other thing I was gonna say was, yeah, if you're going against the line of what they're saying, then they can then just say like, okay, well now we've got C-19 misinformation and bang, and swat you out there. So it's giving them the justification to then just be like, okay, we're gonna have things presented in the way we desire, rather than just have whatever's going out there is whatever's going out there. And that's been a slow process and a slow switch, but it's been accelerated through from March 2020. Really, that's where they kind of been able to, and it's like governments being able to be like, hey, look, no, this is dangerous. This is this is crazy. We can't just have people doing these things, blah blah blah. But then, okay, just like with all the powers that the government's gained through the pandemic, like being able to do lockdowns, being able to lock off certain things, requiring people to have the vaccine passports to do certain things in the in the city, should they when it being able to plan it whenever they desire. That's why those things aren't going away. They've gained those powers. They're not gonna just get rid of them, and it's about how they're gonna be applied. It's gonna be with a broader brush. Says what? It's not the first time Psaki told big tech companies what to do, Frederick noted. In July 2021, Psaki and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy at press conference urged social media companies to combat what Biden administration called health misinformation. At the time, Psaki singled out 12 people whom she said were producing 65% of the anti-max misinformation on social media platforms. All of the 12 people remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns, Psaki said at the time. A day later, Psaki said you shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there. And yeah, so it's basically all these major social media programs, like even Instagram's owned by Facebook. Same for like WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp owned by Facebook. But with all these big social media programs, social media companies, they're in cahoots. Because like the biggest example you can see of how they're all working together is Alex Jones, man. Because there was just that one day where Alex Jones got nuked off every social media platform at once, man. I mean, they even kicked of I think even LinkedIn, man. Actually funny as hell. But at the same time, so further we note that within a month, all of the users and accounts were booted off the Facebook platform. In January, President Joe Biden said he was making a special appeal to social media companies and media to deal with misinformation and disinformation. And in early February, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas had issued a T-era advisory, not just against so-called misinformation about C-19, but also in context of election integrity and election security. Yeah. So more or less, they'll just say like, okay, this is too big, this is too dangerous of a topic, to have dissenting views. Therefore, we're gonna, just take a sledgehammer to anyone that goes against, what the prevailing wind is, and that's these things that are basically just molding the minds of the people and get Esau doing that gradualism, man, inch by inch, pushing forward. That's really what it is. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Yeah, there's a thing where it's Esau is looking to get his plans in, and it's the march basically towards where he desires, really, which is that mark that's begun. It's something that's not going to be slowed, and that's why it's like, whilst now it seems like okay, everything's going back. If there's a variant's gonna just pop up out of somewhere, or an incident's gonna pop off right now. You have the Ukraine Russia situation. That's the main thing on the forefront. They're saying, they've been saying Russia's gonna invade on Wednesday. Well, yeah, we'll see. Whatever it shakes down to, will become evident soon enough. But even if it doesn't, there'll be some form of event or issue which will push closer towards what these elites desire. Psalms 64 and 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot the arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage them, so yeah, and really that's what it is. They're looking to shoot in secret the perfect. Jake is the key target. That's the key one they want to get, man. They're looking to do away with Jake. And they're also looking to get like charagma. And that's going to be part of the hour of temptation, part of the time to come where Jake's going to be tested, man. The elect are going to endure through. And those that aren't of it, man, 2/3 are going to, they might just, be put to death, or take that charagma and then be reserved onto, Revelation 14, where they're going to receive their judgment for taking it. Even the words that they shoot and say, fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. And yeah, these guys have done hella research. They looked into things deeply, man. These guys have put the work in to basically try and bring these things into fruition. But they're all doing it through carnal means. They're basically trying to take the role of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. But Esau is the wicked. He was made for the day of evil. That's his role. That's his job. That's the means that that's the capability he's been built with. But yeah, he's gonna fulfill his role as a wicked. He ain't gonna be able to do anything outside of that. But yeah, I'll leave it there. So yeah, shalom, shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, Shalom, Shalom.